A Prius. That's what everyone thinks when they think about alternative fuel cars. But, and as a matter of fact, there's all kinds of alternative fuel cars. Everything from flex fuel car, which is half operated by alcohol-based fuel that comes from corn, or anything that comes from gasoline power, all the way through the spectrum. Today, I just want to persuade here everyone that there is an option. There is other options of means of powering your car. There isn't just gas. Especially with the rise and spikes in gas prices today, I'm pretty sure I can persuade some of you here in your next visit to go purchase a vehicle to just think about purchasing an alternative fuel car. You know, when we think about alternative fuel cars, we think Prius, hatchback, ugly, for the most part. But today I'm going to tell you about something called a flex fuel vehicle. This vehicle is powered by E85 vehicle. It's 80 to 70% ethanol, which is alcohol based, and gas. It emits 80% less fumes into the air than regular gas, according to greencars.com. These vehicles, although they don't very much change in their miles per gallon, the horsepower is almost not altered at all. It is virtually the same. The only benefit is that it does in fact emit less chemicals into the air, which is a good thing. Now, when you think about these vehicles, what do you think? You guys still think about Priuses? I'm pretty sure. But as a matter of fact, they have everything from a Chevy Tahoe to a hatchback, if that's what you prefer. It says flex fuel is growing and becoming a commodity. It's high in demand. According to Motors Trend, every year since flex fuel has come out, it has increased in sales, with the exception of 2009. I don't know why. These vehicles, they run on combustion engines just like a regular car. So they don't lack in horsepower. They have everything that a man wants in a car. That real power. And then there's another means of hybrid cars. There's not just a half electric, half gas power cars no more. There's also electric vehicles that are just, of course, lacking horsepower, but what they make up is in gas prices. There's no gas. You charge it up and it's ready to go. In an article on hybrids.com, the Prius C maxed out at 108 miles per gallon. Now, if you're looking for a combination of gas-powered vehicle with electric, the best bang for your buck is right there. 108 miles per gallon. That's incredible. Now, take your choice, take your pick. What do you want? You want the flex fuel vehicle that has all the horsepower and all the things that most people desire? Or do you want something that's fuel efficient? The thing about these cars is they're in high demand. They're in high demand right now. They are coming out and they're beta testing all kinds of new vehicles. Anything from hydro-powered cars all the way to solar power, according to greencars.com. They're in the process of testing anything from air-compressed, gas-powered cars to amazing things like water-powered cars. Personally, I think it's an easy choice. You know, what are you looking for? They're all there. You want something that's fuel efficient. You want something that's safe for your family. You want something that's safe for your family? According to top safety picks, among the hybrids, all of them are top safety picks. Why? Because they lack combustion engines, which makes cars twice as dangerous. Why? Because they can explode. They have amazing MPG, which means miles per gallon. Virtually all of them. Even all the way down to the flex fuel that still runs on a combustion engine, the average is 20 miles per gallon. But you're admitting almost 60 to 80% less chemicals into the air. Now, among all these vehicles, there is one thing they all have in common. They are an environmentally safer choice. But that's not my goal here today. My goal is not to foretell that there's possibilities that I can save the world, because that's not the fact of the matter is. The fact of the matter is that gas costs a lot of money. Even the ethanol fuel has $2 per gallon. Gas is up to $4, $5 in some places. So when I'm standing here before you, the only thing I ask is that when you go to purchase your next vehicle, that you don't have to purchase. Just remember what I'm telling you here today, that you at least go and inquire. Go ask. Go ask. Do you have flex fuel vehicles available here in this model that I want? Go ask. If they have a hybrid vehicle that you might like, you never know, you might find something you like. For example, the Chevy Cruze is a sedan. Personally, I don't think it's that ugly. But I just hope that when you go to purchase your next vehicle, that you choose an alternative fuel vehicle. Thank you.
So Anthony, share your thoughts with us, please.
Well, I think he cited the sources good. He had a good eye contact with everybody in the class. There was a few movements that wasn't necessary. It was just like look like you were pacing back and forth. He has a few long pauses in between, like transition. Maybe it's one of just strategies. I don't know. And the conclusion was good. Got everybody's attention, and it's gonna bring it back to people's mind when they go out to go shop for cars in the future.
Okay. Well, you mostly focused on the delivery things, and I wouldn't disagree with anything that you said about the delivery. I think you're doing okay. We'll come back to a couple of those points. I like the idea of starting with the one alternative fuel vehicle that people think of, and then using that as a launching point. I thought that was fine. And then you transition to the topic. That's relatively clear. I didn't think your exact goal was as distinct as it should be. It got clearer as you went along, and then there is finally one spot where you say, here's what I'm asking you to do by the end of the speech. I want you to just think about it. So it feels like you're backing into that point of view rather than that's what I want to talk about. It's sort of like, well, I'm talking about this subject, and as part of talking about it, then I'm going to ask you to do this too. And it feels a little bit passive as a way of developing your argument. I think you need to be a little more assertive. I know generally what the structure is going to be because it's around the different fuel vehicles that you're talking about. You start off pretty well with the flexible fuel vehicle, kind of describing what it's based on. There's a little bit of source citation on it. You mentioned the emissions issue here. It comes up again later on, but then you deny that the emissions issue is really the basis for why you think we ought to be making the decision. It's got to do with cost issues. But I don't get any cost numbers on these alternative fuel vehicles. How do they compare to traditional vehicles, either from the point of view of purchasing them or long-run cost issues? Those seem like they would be natural issues for you to talk about. but you raised the emission issue, which you say we really shouldn't be paying that much attention to. So that was a little bit confusing. I think the other thing when you're talking about flexible fuel vehicles, since it's the one that you spent the most amount of time talking about, it would make sense for you to tell us how available are these flexible fuels, that 85% that you're talking about, and how much does it cost? It sounded like at one point you were talking about it being $2 a gallon. That comes at the end, and I thought, whoa, if it was $2 a gallon, you would think these things would be selling like hotcakes. And I don't know why hotcakes are supposed to be big sellers, but that's the old phrase. So if those are in fact current numbers, you need to give us a source citation on that, and I would think that would get people lining up to get these vehicles. The question I have though is can you get that fuel anywhere, except the limited places? I think that's one of those things that you need. I did like the information that says it's been growing every year since they had it, except for 2009. I don't know what was going on in 2009. I thought that was kind of a fun recognition that there was something odd that was going there that you didn't have an explanation for. But if it continues to grow and continues to be available, and for example, that it's gone from being available, the flexible fuel's gone from being available at 3% of gas stations to now it's available at 20% of gas stations, that would give me a little bit more confidence if I was thinking about this as a vehicle and say, okay, well, then I'm not going to have problems finding gas for this down the road because it is in fact growing. That's the kind of information I think that would sell it a little bit more. You then make the transition to electric cars, but you basically talk about electric cars for all of 20 or 30 seconds. It just really zips by. And then we're back to the hybrid vehicles. You talk about them a little bit more, and I think you give them a little bit of attention. But again, some of the same issues are going on here. What are the cost issues for people in purchasing these things? That would be, I think, the big reservation. The only reservation that you talk about is they're not that ugly, which I'm not sure is a great selling point, but it is a little bit of a humorous point that you're making there. On the delivery issues, I think that you do a good job with your audience contact. You're very solid there. Your voice is usually pretty solid, although there's sometimes some of those awkward spots. It's most noticeable, for instance, that you have to pull the notes out of your pocket, then you put them back into your pocket, then they come out of the pocket again, then you put them back into the pocket. I think that that's one of those places where if you had your notes on a single card and you just had the card in your hand and only referred to it, you could still be gesturing with that hand because you're not reading it the whole time, and you wouldn't be sticking it into the pocket, pulling it out of the pocket, that sort of thing. And Anthony, of course, is right, and you know it. We're going to mention it once more time. You are pacing while you're talking, and your movement is aimless as opposed to purposeful. I don't think I've ever told people you should stand still the whole time you're speaking. You don't need to stand still the whole time you're speaking, but when you move, it should be connected to something that you're talking about, not just your anxiety pouring out of you. All right.